Okay. So 2/6 is subdividing a segment into a given ratio. Okay, so basically we are going to take a segment and then we're going to cut it into like 1/4 of its length or 2/5 of its length or whatever they ask us to do. Okay. So the first little example that they give to you is kind of a real world application with mile markers. Okay, so I'm going to start on that second paragraph. Okay, you guys know what a mile marker is on the highway, right? So we're imagining that we have this straight highway that goes from Belgrade to Bozeman. That's pretty straight. I was thinking like up at the High Line for some reason, where there's no turns ever. Anyways, a straight highway. Okay, so we've got the first exit is Arthur Avenue, and that's at mile marker 14. And then the exit for Collingwood Road is at 44. And the state highway is going to put in an exit at Bear Street, which they would like to be 2/3 of the distance. Okay, how do we figure out where the mile marker should be at? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to plot this on a number line. So we know how to plot mile marker 14, right?
Yeah.
At 14, okay. So I would go, let's see, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So here's my Arthur Avenue. Okay, and then the other one is at 44. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to call that one C. Okay, and we need to figure out how to get 2/3 of that length. So what do you think we should do? How would we figure that out?
Wasn't there 30 between them? Like 30 miles between them?
How did you figure that out?
14, 44, 44 minus 40.
Okay, so good. The first thing we're going to do is figure out the distance between them by simply subtracting. Look at that. Okay, so yeah, we're going to go 44 minus 14 and say there's a distance of 30 miles between them. Okay, so then what are we going to do? How are we going to figure out what 2/3 of that distance is? Okay, so mathematically, what's our operation that we're doing? Multiplication, right? Okay, so we're going to multiply 30 by 2/3. Okay, so what's 30 times 2/3? How did you get that so fast?
2/3 is the same as 20 over 30.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought of it that way. Yeah, you're right. Did you know that if you multiply a whole number by a fraction, the whole number is the same as 30 over 1, right? And then you can multiply straight across, so you can go 30 times 2 is 60, and 60 divided by 3. Or the faster way would be if you divide the whole number first by the denominator. So what's 30 divided by 3? 10, and then multiply by the top. Well, it's not cross multiplying, but bad word, wrong word, wrong word. Okay, so what is 20? What is 20? 20 what?
20 miles.
20 miles, and 20 miles of what? What does that even mean? 20 miles is our
Exit from. That's Bear Canyon. Bear Street.
Bear. Was that the name? Oh, Brer. So 20 miles from where though? From Arthur Avenue, right? Okay, so what we have to do is figure out what mile marker we need to put the Brer exit at. Okay, so if Arthur starts at 14, we got to go 20 from 14. So how are we going to do that mathematically?
Add 20 to 14.
Add 20. Good. So we're going to go 14 plus 20. So therefore, the exit is going to be where?
34 miles.
At the 34 mile marker. Okay, and it says plot it. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4. So what do you think? Does that look like a distance of 2/3?
Yeah.
Looks pretty good. Okay. So that's pretty easy, right? All right, well, it's pretty rare that you actually have whole nice numbered distances. So they're going to do this now on a coordinate grid. Okay, so using points like x's and y's and now giving us a ratio. And they give us a ratio in a different format. Okay, so they give us it from 1 to 2. Okay, what's the ratio that we're using if it's 1 to 2?
Is that like 1 dot?
Yeah. So that means, for example, if I have a length of, or a distance of here, I don't know, call it x. Okay, that means 1 section here, 2 sections on this side. How many total sections did I just talk about?
Twice.
Yeah, this side is twice as big as this one. How many total sections we got?
2.
Total 3, right? Because really there's 1, 2, 3. See what I'm saying? Okay, so to figure out the ratio, this is this first part. They're going to say P is our point that we're trying to find. So if our ratio is 1 to 2, to figure out that, we'd go 1, so the first number, and then all you do to get the bottom number is you add the two together, so our ratio is 1/3. So we're going to find the length that is 1/3 of that total distance. Okay? Got it? You guys writing this down? You're going to want to write these steps down.
1, 2, 2. How many steps?
5 steps, I think. Okay, so the first thing they do is they ask us to find the run. Okay, so if they say run, what's another way of saying the run? Horizontal
X-axis.
distance, okay? So they're finding the change. Run is simply a change in x, right? The run is a change in x. So all they did is they took the x's, you see the points up there, A and B. Okay, so they just took the difference of the x's, subtracted them. Okay, so then they're going to take the difference of the y's, which they call the rise. Okay, so they go from, so if they started with 2, which is notice is the second spot, what do I have to start with on my y?
1.
1. So 1 minus
4.
regular 4, yep. So what's 1 minus 4?
3.
-3. Okay, so if they're talking about rises and runs, what are we kind of really talking about?
Slope.
The change of slope. Okay, so what they're essentially doing is they're taking the slope and using the slope with the ratio to come up with new points. Okay, all right, so in step 3, we're going to take our P ratio that we found above. What was our P ratio that I found above? Yep, so 1/3. So we're going to use this ratio, and we're going to multiply it by the run that we found. So we're going to do 1/3 times the run. So 1/3 times 6. So what's 1/3 times 6?
2.
6/3 is 2. Okay, so that's going to be the change in the run. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing in this reserve typo right here. Rise. We're going to do 1/3 times the rise. What's the rise that we found?
-3.
-3. So what's 1/3 times -3? -1. Okay, so everybody good with that? All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add those to our first point. Okay, so the first point was A. So remember A was -4, 4. -4, 4. Okay, so it says the x coordinate of P. So if I'm talking about the x, am I going to use the rise or the run?
Run.
The run, right? The run is horizontal. So what was the change of the run that I found? 2. So what's -4 plus 2? Negative 2. And now I'm going to do my y. What was my change in my rise? Negative 1. And so what's 4 plus negative 1? 3. Okay, so what I just found is the coordinates for my point P. So negative 2, 3. The first set of numbers, which ones are you talking about?
Like, why do you have to do A?
You could use B and just go the other direction. So if you go from B, then you have to go like opposite, yeah. But they want you to go from the first one to the second one, because if it says to go 1 to 2, then the length between A and B is going to go 1 unit between A and then 2 from the P to the B. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I could plot this on this little grid if you guys, for you visual learners. So my A would be negative 4, 4. My B is 2, 1. So there's B. Okay, so that's my distance right there. Okay, so imagine that line segment cut into 3s, sections. And my point is on my first 1/3 of it. Okay, so P we found to be negative 2, 3. Negative 2, wait, did I plot that wrong? Negative 2, oh, negative 3. Negative 2. Hold on, wait a second. Negative 3.
How is it made?
Oh, gosh. Because A is plotted wrong. Because Miss Nolte doesn't know how to plot points. 2, 1. Thank you for catching my mistake. Negative 2, 3. Well, that makes sense. There, that looks better. That looks better. 1 to 2. It's on the line, yeah, that's good too. Okay, so let's do one more example without the graph. Well, maybe 2. We'll see how long it takes. Okay, and go through the steps. Okay, so first of all, let's find our ratio. Okay, so if I have a ratio of 5 to 3, what's my fraction?
5/8.
5/8. Good. Everybody okay with that? 5/8. That was not a very good drawn 8. Okay, so then I'm going to do my change in. Does it matter if I do change in x or change in y first? Doesn't really matter. We'll do change in x. Okay, so for my change in x, remember I want to go from B to A. My x is 2 minus, right? So that's the same as 2 plus 6. So 8. Okay, change in y. Negative 3 minus 5. So it's negative 3 minus 5. Negative 8. Okay, so then what do I do next? You guys remember? So that was my, I think that's step
You take the first one
2. So now what I'm going to do, I'm on step 3 right there. Okay, so I'm going to take my ratio and multiply by my change in, by my rise and my runs. Okay, so let's do change in x times my ratio. So that would be 8 times 5/8. So it's 8 times 5/8. 5, good. Because the 8's cancel. And if I do my change in y times my ratio, negative 8 times 5/8. -5. Okay, so now I have the number that I'm going to add to my point A. Am I going too fast? Is everybody following? Okay, so to find my P point, I'm going to use my XA. So I'll just say X. So what's my my XA value?
-1. Did that work?
Well, I'm just asking, like, what is the X value of A?
I have no idea what that means.
Like the X, this number right here. So -6. So -6, and then I'm going to add my change of X rate. So 5. So yeah, you're giving me the X of the P. So -1. So then for my Y of the P, my Y value,
5.
it's 5. And I'm going to add my ratio number that I got, -5,
0.
to get 0. Okay, so the point, the X value is -1, the Y value is 0.
Is that just a straight?
Is that a straight line? Should we plot it? Make sure. Hopefully I can plot the points right.
Or if it's wrong?
Yeah, it should, right? Yeah, you're right. It would be wrong if it wasn't. So let's make sure I can plot these points right. -6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up 5. And then if I plot 2 to the right, down 3. Okay, so there's my line-ish. So point P would be at -1, 0. Ooh, that looked totally landed there. Nice. So what do you guys think? Should I do number 6 as one more quick example? Okay, let's do it really fast. Sorry, I'm bleeding over into my 6th spot. Okay, so what's the first thing that I do?
Ratio.
Okay, so if I have 3 to 2, what fraction is that? 3/5. Good. 3/5. So then I'm going to do my change in X. Okay, so remember when I do change in X, I want to start with my B. So what's my X value of B? So -6 minus 4, -10. For my change of Y, I'd go from -13 to 2, -15. Let's use a different color. Okay, so then what do I do once I have my rise and my run?
Times by
The ratio. So if I multiply my run times my rate, -10 times 3/5.
-6.
Nice, good. So everybody good with that, multiplying those? Because 10 divided by, so you do 10 divided by 5 because 5 is in the bottom, so you just divide it, which is 2, and then 2 times the top number 3. And then since it's negative, it would just be -6. Does that make sense? 10 divided by 5 is 2. 2 times 3, because 3 is on the top.
How do you get the ratio? Is it just,
Oh, how do you get the ratio?
yeah,
Ratio, so see how I have 3 to 2?
yeah.
So the 3 is the top number, and the bottom one, you just add the two numbers together. All right, so from here, we're going to multiply my rise by my rate. So -15 times 3/5. So -9, good. Okay, so now to find my point P, to find the x, I would take my XA value. So what's the XA value?
4.
4, and then add my rise rate. Or my run rate, sorry.
6,
-6. So what's 4 plus -6? -2. So for my y, I add my AY value. And then I add my rise rate. -9. 2 plus -9 is -7. So the ordered pair for P, my x is -2, my y is -7. Not too bad? It's kind of a lot of steps, isn't it? Okay. The second half of this is now doing a construction. So grabbing a compass and a ruler and actually cutting a segment into whatever ratio they want. So we are going to do this. So I'm going to just give you the steps really fast and then we'll do it together. Maybe. That lets me zoom in. Alright, so the steps on this say, so you're given this AB, right? A to B. Your first step is to draw an angle, and they say that the first angle has to be between 30 and 60. Okay, so they draw that C. Okay, so then they come up with these arcs. So you want these arcs to be kind of small. Okay, so you're grabbing your compass and you're making an arc. So from A, I'm making an arc. And keeping it the same distance, I'm going to go to E and F. Okay? As long as it's the same distance, it doesn't matter. Okay? And then because my ratio is 2 to 3, how many little arcs do I need total? I need 3. Okay, so you add that together to get the 3. So you're going to draw 3 of them. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, so on my third one, that's going to be where I create a triangle. So I'm going to connect point F with point B, which they've done there. Okay, and then the idea is that I want to copy this obtuse angle from that big triangle. You guys see that one? Okay, so what I will do is now from these spots, keeping my compass at that same setting. You don't have to keep it at the same setting, but it's helpful to keep it at the same setting. You're going to draw a full arc between off of each of these points. So see that full arc that they're drawing? Okay, and then you measure the distance of the angle and draw that other arc, which is where you get that intersection. And then connect those points through those arcs. Got it? Sort of, kind of, maybe not. We'll do it together. Okay, so grab a compass and a ruler, and I'll give you the construction sheet.